Deep in the heart of Obiloma, where whispers of ancestors echo through the wind, a young woman dares to face a cursed legacy. When betrayal lurks in the shadows, and a sacred heirloom holds the key to redemption, would you risk it all to uncover the truth? This is the tale of the cursed Calabash where every choice could be her last. Before we begin the story, please make sure, like, comment, and share with your friends. Under the glow of a haunting full moon, the village of Obiloma slept soundly, but Amara was wide awake. Her dreams had been restless, vivid, and disturbing. That night, a vision struck her with an intensity that left her drenched in cold sweat. In her dream, a calabash rested in the middle of a shadowed forest clearing. It was no ordinary calabash, it seemed alive, crying tears of blood that trickled down its sides, pooling into the earth below. The sound of distant drums, faint but unrelenting, echoed in her ears, growing louder with each beat, as though warning her of a fate yet to come. Amara woke with a start, clutching her mother's old pendant around her neck. The crescent moon carved into the pendant glinted faintly in the moonlight streaming through her window. She couldn't shake the dream, it felt more like a message than a nightmare. The calabash was said to be a sacred object of immense power, lost generations ago, after a bitter feud divided the village. Her heart raced as the question lingered in her mind. Why had she, of all people, been shown this vision? Little did she know, the dream was just the beginning. Her fate was tied to the cursed calabash, and the journey to uncover its truth would change everything. The village of Obiloma was a place where tradition and modernity coexisted in an uneasy balance. Nestled between vast forests and rolling hills, it was a community steeped in ancient customs, where every corner held whispers of ancestors long gone. The villagers, bound by their shared history, often gathered under the great baobab tree to share stories of triumphs, tragedies, and legends. One story, however, always cast a shadow, a tale of betrayal and loss that still haunted the village. Generations ago, during a time of great division, the golden calabash was lost. This sacred heirloom, believed to be a gift from the gods, had been the symbol of unity and prosperity in Obiloma. Its disappearance was no mere accident. According to legend, it vanished amidst a bitter feud between two powerful families, leaving the village fractured and cursed. Since then, Obiloma had endured years of misfortune-filled harvests, strained alliances, and lingering distrust among its people. Despite this, the calabash remained more than a memory. It was a symbol of hope, a dream of restoring harmony to the land. Rumors whispered that it lay hidden deep within the forest of shadows, protected by ancient forces. To recover, it meant not only immense honor, but also the redemption of an entire community. Amara had always been an outcast in Obiloma, born into the family accused of betraying the village during the feud that led to the loss of the golden calabash. She grew up under the weight of suspicion and scorn. Whispers followed her every move, and even the children mocked her in the marketplace. But Amara's mother, before her passing, had left her with a powerful reminder. Our truth will shine brighter than their lies if you have the courage to seek it. When the village chief announced a contest to recover the golden calabash from the forest of shadows, it was met with excitement and fear. The forest was no ordinary place. It was shrouded in legends of spirits, curses, and treachery. To many, the risk outweighed the reward. Yet for Amara, the announcement stirred something deep within her. This was her chance, a moment to redeem her family's name and prove their innocence. As others mocked her resolve, Amara remained steadfast. She prepared for the journey with the few possessions she had: her mother's crescent-shaped pendant, a satchel of herbs, and her unshakable determination. The path ahead was uncertain, but one thing was clear: this journey was not just about the calabash. It was about reclaiming her identity, her honor, and her place in Obiloma. The forest of shadows was as foreboding as the tales foretold, its dense canopy shrouded in perpetual twilight, where every rustle of leaves seemed to echo with unseen eyes watching. Amara wasn't alone in her quest. She was joined by Obina, the village's proud warrior known for his arrogance, and Ikenna, a sly trickster whose charm masked his cunning nature. Each of them sought the golden calabash, but not all intended to play fair. From the very beginning, tensions ran high. Obina declared himself the leader, arrogantly dictating their path through the forest. Ikena, with his quick wit and sharper tongue, subtly sowed seeds of doubt among the group. Amara, sensing the danger in their rivalry, kept to herself, observing their every move. She knew neither of them could be trusted. Their fragile alliance was put to the test when they reached a treacherous river crossing. The murky waters churned violently, and the shadows of lurking crocodiles rippled beneath the surface. It was Ikena who first showed his true colors. Whispering to Obina, he conspired to leave Amara behind as bait, ensuring their own safe passage. But Amara, quick-witted and resourceful, used her mother's pendant to reflect the moonlight, blinding the crocodiles long enough to escape. In the forest, trust was as fleeting as the lighter truth Amara would carry with her. Deeper into the forest of shadows, the air grew heavier, and an eerie silence replaced the constant hum of nature. The towering trees around Amara seemed ancient, their twisted roots like grasping fingers reaching for her feet. It wasn't long before the whispers began. Faint at first, like a distant breeze, they grew louder with every step she took. These were no ordinary whispers. They called her name, accusing, mocking, reminding her of her family's tarnished legacy. Amara froze as a tree in her path loomed taller than the others, its gnarled trunk etched with faces that seemed alive. Each face mirrored her deepest fears and insecurities, speaking in voices she recognized. Villagers who had taunted her, elders who had doubted her, even her own inner voice. "Betrayer's blood runs in your veins," one face hissed. Another snarled, "You'll never be anything more than a shadow of shame." The weight of their words bore down on her, threatening to break her resolve. But then she remembered her mother's wisdom. The truth is a flame, it burns, but it purifies. Clutching her pendant tightly, Amara spoke aloud, "I am not my ancestors' mistakes. I choose my own path." The whispers fell silent, and the faces faded into the bark, allowing her to pass. The forest had tested her guilt, but Amara's determination burned brighter. This was only the beginning. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Amara and her rivals, Obina and Ikena, reached the edge of a wide, turbulent river. The water roared angrily, crashing against jagged rocks. Dark shapes lurked just beneath the surface crocodiles, their unblinking eyes glinting in the dim light. The crossing was treacherous, but it was the only path forward. Obina, ever the self-proclaimed leader, scanned the waters with a smug grin. "Follow me," he declared, but his bravado masked his unease. Ikena, the cunning trickster, had other plans. He pulled Obina aside, whispering, "Let her go first. If she makes it, the way is safe. If not, we've lost nothing." Obina hesitated but nodded, a glint of agreement in his eyes. Amara, sensing their plotting from a distance, prepared herself. She knew she couldn't trust them. As she stepped forward to test the waters, Obina feigned encouragement, but his words were hollow. Just as she reached the edge, Ikena pushed her, hoping to use her as bait to distract the crocodiles. But Amara was quicker than they expected. Grasping her mother's crescent-shaped pendant, she angled it toward the moonlight, reflecting a dazzling beam into the water. The crocodiles recoiled, confused by the sudden light, giving her enough time to leap back to safety. The betrayal stung, but Amara's resolve hardened. She would trust no one but herself in this perilous journey. The forest, and its dangers, belonged to her now. Amara's journey through the forest of shadows led her to a place where the air felt unnaturally still. The dense foliage gave way to a circular clearing bathed in an otherworldly glow, as though the moon itself had chosen this spot to shine brightest. The ground was carpeted with soft moss, and in the center stood an ancient baobab tree, its massive trunk etched with symbols that pulsed faintly with light. Amara hesitated, her instincts warning her that this place was different, a sacred ground untouched by time. As she stepped into the clearing, the temperature dropped, and a soft hum filled the air. The hum grew louder, morphing into a familiar voice. "Amara," it called. She spun around, and there before her stood a translucent figura woman wrapped in flowing garments that shimmered like the stars. It was her ancestor, Nika, a figure she had only heard of in whispered family tales. "You carry more than your own burden, child," Neka said, her voice both soothing and heavy with wisdom. The truth lies buried with the calabash, but redemption comes with a price. Neka held out her hand, revealing a tiny, glowing seed. Plant this when the time is right. It will guide you to the answers you seek. The clearing faded as quickly as it had appeared, leaving Amara holding the seed. Her path was clearer, but the weight of her destiny had never felt heavier. The heart of the forest of shadows was unlike anything Amara had encountered. The trees parted to reveal a cavernous grove illuminated by a faint golden light. There, resting atop a stone pedestal covered in ancient carvings, was the golden calabash. Its glow pulsed softly, as if alive, calling out to her, but she wasn't alone. Coiled protectively around the pedestal was a massive serpent, its scales shimmering like blackened steel, and its eyes glowing an ominous red. This was the guardian. Amara's breath hitched as the serpent lifted its head, fixing her with an unblinking stare. It moved with terrifying grace, its body circling the pedestal, as though warning her to come no closer. Every instinct told her to run, but she had come too far to turn back. Her pendant grew warm against her chest, and she remembered Neka's words, "Plant this when the time is right." Clutching the glowing seed, Amara knelt and pressed it into the soil near the serpent. The ground trembled as the seed sprouted instantly, growing into a radiant tree whose branches stretched toward the serpent. The creature paused, its fierce gaze softening. Slowly, it uncoiled from the pedestal, bowing its head as though in submission. Amara approached the calabash, her hands trembling as she lifted it. She had passed the final trial, but the weight of her victory was only beginning to sink in. The calabash was hers, but what would its power demand of her? The path out of the forest of shadows was lighter, though Amara carried the golden calabash with a mix of triumph and trepidation. The once forbidding trees now seemed to part willingly, as though honouring her courage. When she emerged into the village, gasps rippled through the gathered crowd. All eyes fixed on the glowing calabash, in her hands a symbol of unity and prosperity thought lost forever. Obina and Ikenna, who had returned earlier with tales of Amara's supposed failure, froze in disbelief. "Impossible," Obina barked. Ikenna's sly smile faltered as murmurs of awe spread among the villagers. Amara stepped forward, her voice steady. "The calabash is here, and so is the truth." Before anyone could respond, the air shifted, and a glowing figure appeared beside her. It was Neka, her ancestor, her presence undeniable. The villagers fell silent as Neka's voice rang out. "For years, my family bore the weight of lies. The calabash was not lost to betrayal, but hidden to protect its power from greed. Today, that truth is restored." The elders, humbled and reverent, led a ritual to cleanse the past. Tears streamed down Amara's face as the village danced and sang beneath the full moon. For the first time in generations, her family's honour was restored, and Obiloma's unity was reborn. As the village of Obiloma erupted in celebration, the glow of the golden calabash reflected in the jubilant faces of its people. Drums echoed into the night, and for the first time in generations, the air was thick with unity and hope. Yet, for Amara, the journey wasn't just about returning the calabash, it was about planting something far deeper. Neka's final words lingered in her mind. "Plant this when the time is right." As the celebration reached its peak, Amara slipped away to the edge of the village, where the earth was soft and untouched. She held the glowing seed in her hand, the one her ancestor had entrusted to her. Kneeling, she pressed it into the soil. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, the ground began to stir. A small sprout emerged, growing rapidly before her eyes. Within moments, a tree with radiant golden leaves stood tall. Its branches reached toward the sky, shimmering like the dawn. The villagers, drawn by the sight, gathered in awe. The elders declared the tree a sacred symbol of renewal and strength, a reminder of the truths uncovered and the bonds restored. Amara stood silently, watching as the tree's roots intertwined with the land. The calabash had been returned, but it was the seed she planted that promised a legacy of redemption for generations to come.